Hey guys, this is Substitute Topher filling in for TheTopher today in beautiful Irvine, California, driving the 2022 Mazda MX-30. This is super exciting because this is Mazda's first stateside EV. It's the first time we've gotten an electric Mazda in America. Super excited to drive this car today, but before we go for a drive, let's go ahead and walk around the exterior and see what this thing actually looks like. Quite a unique little design here. We of course have the freestyle doors that remind me of the Mazda RX-8, which is something that's cool to see back in this MX-30. This car shares platform with the CX-30, which makes us excited over here at TheTopher because we of course really like the CX-30. In fact, TheTopher and family own a CX-30. Take a look at these freestyle doors here. Opens this thing up to where it's completely pillarless. Pretty sweet. It also makes it easier to get into this back seat, which I'll demonstrate on the other side because there's a little bit of a cooler adjustment for the driver's seat than there is for the passenger seat. Got some cool materials in this interior. The weaves, or like the material that they use on this seat here, is made out of recycled like t-shirts and things like that. Also, this is made out of recycled plastic bottles, this like sort of fuzzy material here on the door, so that's pretty cool. Lots of sort of eco-friendly things in here, very fitting for being in California. That shuts nicely, nice feel there on the doors. We've got some nice styling around here on the back as well. As you can see, there's sort of this multi-contour design as far as colors and lines go. We've got a black roof. We've got this silver panel that runs all the way up the side here. And then, of course, our gray body color. This MX-30 is available in 3 different colors. There's this gray color, a white, and then red as well. The soul red, that really nice red that we love on Mazdas. As far as trunk space goes, it's pretty good. Lots of room back here. We're not sacrificing too much room for a battery. This is our charging kit right here. So if you do want to access the back seat in an easier way, they have these little switches here on the back of the seat that make it easy for you to get in and out of, you know. So you can hold that forwards. Climb in here to the back seat, and yeah, you can move it back with this button as well, and we can shut ourselves in. It's not the roomiest back seat. I'm 5'11". This is adjusted to my driving position, and my knees are very well pressed into the seat here, but I don't think it would be too big of an issue to sit sideways. You know, I think you could fit 4 adults in here with no problem. Also got this little armrest here, which is also made of that like recycled thread material, which is nice. It's actually quite a nice material, especially mixed with this white leather, this orange detail here in the middle. I think it all just looks really nice. This interior is just a really, really nice place to be. All right, let's climb out of this position and get back into the front. Ooh, okay. Yes. No, I gotta open this back up and put this back into my position here. There we go. Now that we're up front in the MX-30, it kind of reminds me of the CX-30. We have this very familiar steering wheel that is pulled right from the CX-30 and other similar Mazda cars. We have a unit here for our climate control, which is on a screen, but there are buttons here on the side if you don't feel like using these touch controls here. As you can see, this button does the same thing, so that's pretty cool. Same goes for our vent controls. I'm not huge about climate being on a screen, but the fact that this has its own screen, I think that makes it okay because you don't have to go through the infotainment to access your climate. It's all available right here for you. Granted, the menu decides that it wants to work on that day, but being that this is a new car, we are having no problems at all. It also makes quite a nice boop noise when you touch it. That's for our heated steering wheel and our heated seats. Air conditioning button right there. Gonna leave that on because it's pretty hot out here today. We also have touches of cork that go all through the interior. And this confused me a little bit earlier, but then I found out that this is sort of a tribute to Mazda's past. Mazda was a cork manufacturer in the 1920s. So 100 years ago, if you don't want a Mazda car, you could have Mazda branded cork. And they've reminded you of that by covering your cup holders in it and also lining it around the center console here, down in this storage tray. And there's a little bit here on your grab handles for the door panels. Also have that recycled material that runs all along the top here, down the middle here. And I know I touched on that a little bit over there, but not only is it on the rear door panels, it also flows through the front of the car. So lots of recycled materials. Headliner's black. Just a small sunroof in this car. It is not a massive panoramic unit, but I think that that's okay. I don't think all cars are required to have a glass roof. Kind of sets it aside from other EVs. We've got our knob right here for our infotainment. It's nice in that way because, of course, this is not a touchscreen. So you control everything with this knob down here. And I think it works fine. You know, it's just pretty standard Mazda infotainment. It's been doing the job just fine for me today. So no problem there. And we have a volume knob. That's great. Volume knob is right here to the right of our little infotainment controller. I love cars that have volume knobs. They're so underrated. We have to save the volume knob and make sure that manufacturers know that we love it. Over here to the left, we have our different camera views. You can see we have a 360 camera on this. We can look out the back, out the sides, out the front, and all around. Pretty cool stuff. And that, of course, also comes on when you are in reverse. We've got our 360 camera as well as our reversing camera. This shifter is a little bit odd. Let's go ahead and take this thing for a drive and we'll get into a little bit more of what this car is really like. So the shifter is a little bit confusing. So park is over here to the left and up. In order to go into reverse, you have to push over to the right. Make sure your hand is all the way down on that button, and then that puts you into reverse, and also make sure your parking brake is down. And you can see that our camera does swivel here with our camera, or with our steering wheel, rather. And then to put the car into drive, you simply just go down into drive, and the shifter stays. When I got into this, I was expecting the shifter to sort of bounce back to center like a lot of these do, but that is not the case. It's actually quite a satisfying shifter to use. We also have a warning here, high voltage battery is low. Yes, we're down to just 25%, so we've got to be a little bit careful that we don't get stranded out here in the mountains today. You can clear that just by pressing the info button. It is quite a small battery in this Mazda MX-30. We only have 100 miles of range. And Mazda's reasoning for this is that they're really aiming for first-time EV buyers and people that really just commute inner city and in suburban areas where they can go to and from their house and charge at both places. Mazda says that the average consumer commutes about 30 miles a day, so if you consider that, you know, this car would be about all you need. However, if you're going into, you know, territories like the Nissan Leaf and the Tesla Model 3 and the Hyundai Ioniq, which all have, you know, 300 plus miles of range, it's a little bit hard to justify this car, though it is pretty cheap. This car starts at about $33,000, but if you want one like this with the Premium Plus pack with all of the extra amenities, it starts at about $36,000. So it's actually not too much more to get all of the amenities. As far as actual driving impressions, this car is pretty fun to drive. So it's got 143 horsepower, which is really not that much. It's not that fast. We do have 200 foot-pounds of torque, though, which is, you know, decent. You have to expect that you're going to have more torque than power in an electric car. And you can certainly feel that when you hit the gas, or, well, that's not the gas, is it? It's the accelerator. You can feel it. You can feel that instant torque with the accelerator. In that fashion, it's no different than every other electric car. We also have a 60-40 weight split. And what that means is we've got 60% of the weight over the front axle and 40% of the weight over the rear axle. So you do sometimes have a little bit of sketchy liftoff oversteer. I know Mazda has sort of engineered this car to mitigate that, but it is still there in very small quantities. It is overall a very smooth car to drive as well. The interior is very comfortable. The interior, you know, as cramped as the back seat can be, the actual driver's compartment is very big and airy, and you don't feel cramped up here at all. I will say it is a little bit stressy, seeing that we only have 22% battery left, and I am pretty much in the middle of nowhere, though there is civilization just on the other side of that mountain right there, so we should be okay. For the cluster, we have an electronic display in the middle that shows our speed, and then we have our sort of charge-o-meter here on the left that works in correspondence with the accelerator. So if you can see, if I give it more throttle, the gauge goes up. If I let off, it'll be in the charge. And speaking of that, Mazda has integrated paddle shifters into this electric car. And you're probably thinking, well, how do paddle shifters work in an electric car? Well, let me show you. So as you know, a lot of electric cars have something called one pedal drive, where you have the regen braking upon when you lift off the accelerator. This MX-30 has that as well, but you're able to adjust it using the paddle shifters. So if you want less of it, if you're used to just a normal gas automatic car and you want less resistance, you click up on the up paddle, what would normally be the upshift, and that gives you less. So right now I'm off the gas. Right now the car is not doing any braking at all. But now once I hit the negative button, which would normally be our downshift, which I can actually go even further here, it gives us more. So the further you are to the left here, the further you are on the down, the more regen braking you have, the more this feels just like a normal electric car that does the one pedal driving. So that's pretty cool. I think it's cool that you can adjust that on the fly so easily. You know, if you're coasting down and, you know, say you're all the way up and then you're coasting down to a stop, you can just hit this 4 times, and that easily you now have your extra regen braking, which will also charge the battery. So that's pretty cool. That's flat out. Not a super crazy amount of power in this car. I will say, if they would want to compete with something like the Tesla Model 3 and even the Nissan Leaf, which we drove a couple weeks ago, they would have to give this car quite a bit more power. I think that this car is very, very, very niche. In fact, they're only making 560 of these as sort of a trial run for the first model year. So I guess we'll see how this does. We'll see how the market likes it. But I think if they really wanted to compete, you know, they're going to want to have a long-range battery. They're going to want to have 200 more horsepower. And I think that would really sort of slingshot this ahead of all the other cars, because Mazdas do drive very nice. The interior in here is very, very nice. I will say the interior quality and just overall design, I do prefer to a Tesla and the Nissan Leaf. So if we just had a couple other amenities in here for actually driving the car, it would totally put this thing ahead. Staying sort of on that topic, this short-range car, not that there is a long range, but this car has front-wheel drive only. There's currently no all-wheel or rear-wheel drive rendition of the MX-30. We are limited to just front-wheel drive. And in that aspect, this car reminds me quite a bit of the CX-30. I think it drives very similarly to the CX-30 and even the CX-5, which is good because those cars drive great. They have that sporty feel that most other SUVs don't have. Considering that this is sort of a CUV or a compact SUV, it does have that fun feel. You know, you've got your nice solid turn-in. There's limited body roll. As I mentioned earlier, there's some sort of sometimes where you're a little bit clenched when you have some lift-off oversteer because of that 60-40 split, but you really don't notice that unless you're pushing this thing to its absolute limit. Mazda also pipes in noise through the speakers, and usually you only find this in cars with internal combustion engines or the hideous propulsion noise that the Mustang Mach-E makes. But this one sounds a bit more natural. I don't really know how to explain it. I mean, you can listen for yourself and think about how you would explain it, but I don't hate it as much as I do the propulsion sound on the Mustang Mach-E. I think it sounds a lot more organic and more natural for an electric car. So that's pretty cool that they have integrated that. I don't think there's a way to turn that off, but it's okay because it's not overbearing, it's not annoying, you know, it's not something that you're going to get sick of or get annoyed with. 18% battery left. I have anxiety, but we're having fun. This car is actually quite a lot of fun. It's very satisfying to drive up here on this canyon road. I don't feel scared besides the battery range, but just gloss over that for now. Yes, I have to slow down. Let's go ahead and tap that left paddle, and we can go ahead and slowly coast by these construction workers. We do also have radar guided cruise control, and you can see we have that lane departure mitigation there. I haven't found any way to actually make this car auto steer. There's no obvious buttons on here that mention it, and they also didn't mention it in the presentation, so I'm going to go ahead and assume that it doesn't have that. But it does a good job of radaring when you're on the highway, and it also does a good job of letting you know if you're out of a lane. It'll bing you, and it'll also nudge the steering wheel slightly to make sure that you don't go too far out of a lane. We also have a pretty advanced blind spot monitoring system that will not only warn you, but also nudge your steering wheel if you're starting to merge into another car. So if you put your turn signal on, the car bings at you, you ignore it, and you get over anyways, the car will actually sort of jolt the steering over to the right to make sure that you don't hit the car on your left, but not so much to where it's going to cause an accident. Say, you know, you're actually trying to get around something on the right, the car misunderstands. You are still able to... It's very low now, yes, I don't love that. Right, it's 12 miles back to the hotel, and I have 15 miles of range. So I'm going to be extremely careful here, and hopefully nothing goes wrong. And hopefully I don't drive the wrong way. This is some super intense driving here, ladies and gentlemen. Just get rid of that warning so I don't have to stare at it. Alright. Merging now onto one of the most beautiful highway entrances I've ever seen. We do have a bit of road noise here on the highway, that being tire noise and wind noise. I'm sure you can pick up both of those, but it's not so bad. It cruises down the highway nice, relaxed. Now we can set our cruise control here. So you've got it set there at 72 miles an hour. And we can adjust the distance of which we stay from the car in front of us here with that little knob or button. Oh dear, I've got 10 miles of range. The hotel is 9.3 miles away. I absolutely hate this right now. 9 miles for 9 miles of range. I think I'm gonna slow down a little bit here. Slow it right down to 65. Wow, look at that view. Holy moly. I would enjoy that much more if I didn't have such bad range anxiety right now. Ooh, can I charge it on the downhill? Yes. Go around me, Mr. CRV. I'm charging my battery. Oh, even better. We've got double paddle now on our actually, that's probably impeding traffic. I probably should not do that. If you ever see a Mazda MX-30 going slowly on a downhill bit, you'll know why. The owner probably only has 2 miles of range left and they're trying to make it off the highway. Oh dear. Okay, still 9 miles of range, and I've got 7.4 miles to the hotel. Wherever Mazda's taking this once I get back, hopefully it's only a mile away. Got 6 miles left, and it's still indicated I still have 9 miles of range. This is the most stressful thing I've ever done in a car. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being passed by the competition. There it goes. What do you guys say we do a little bit of a sound system test to calm my nerves here? To calm my range anxiety. We do have a Bose sound system in this, I should mention, so let's see how it is. Alright, not too bad. Actually, oh, hello. Alright, not too bad of a performance there from the Bose sound system. Let me know what you think. One of the better Bose systems I've heard, and we do know that in Mazda's, Bose are usually fairly good systems, so not super surprising there that it was a pretty good performance. Alright, well, I am back in town, And I've got 6 miles of range here, and the hotel is just up here on the right. So I have made it. Big sigh of relief. We've made it back with 6 miles of range, 5% of battery to spare. All right, everyone, and that is going to conclude our first impressions drive of the Mazda MX-30. I hope we get another one of these so we can spend a little bit more time in it, see what it's like to live with, though I had a little taste of that today, and it is stressy. Anyways, though, yes, parking brake applied. Anyways, though, thank you all so much for watching. Let's do one more little walk around of this thing here. Yeah, it's a fun shape. Alright guys, thanks for watching. This has been Substitute Topher filling in for TheTopher. Be back to your normal scheduled Topher programming soon. But as for now, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.